Hi everybody, Jo here again. How you doing? I must admit I've been up early to walk Eric and oh my goodness, I've had to get my winter coat out. Now, speaking of winter, did you see that little segue there? I've got something exciting to share with you. We have now got at Lavinia a snowflake stencil. Now, I know a few of you have been asking Tracy, and she does listen, but sometimes she has to plan so far in advance that things can't just be done. And, you know, things take time to be designed and then made. Then you've got to check the work. Anyway, cut a long story short, yes, we have finally got a snowflake stencil, so I couldn't resist having a play. And it's one of the larger stencils, because a few of you have said, even if you do smaller cards, you prefer the larger, the square stencil. So again, she's listened, and I love this. Now, we have got quite a lot of stamps, haven't we? We've got the really small snowflakes, and then the small and the large snowflakes. So there is just so much you're going to do with this. But I thought I'd come in and do quite a nice, simple design, really just to show you the whole of the design. Now, this, I know you'll want to know, is on a 7x7 piece of multifarious card to go on an 8x8. But, you know, if you didn't want to create a larger design, look, just ignore this. This was the clean-up off the stencil. And I just love these messy, blotchy I'm thinking with the new splatter stamps, I can't wait to create this. Anyway, if I was just going to turn this round, look, you could even just put the middle bit, because you know that will fit on with some of the stenciling around. I mean, there are so many things you can do. And like me, sorry, can you tell I'm excited? I'm like the boys when they get all excited. I speak a bit quick and I almost start dribbling, so excuse me. But I've been after this for so long. But if you know, I'm thinking if you need those quick Christmas cards and you want to send, there's nothing nicer than a handmade card. I was speaking to some ladies recently to one of the workshops, and we were saying, even if our friends say, oh, we're not sending cards, we're still going to do it. Because A, we like making them, but B, to actually receive something in the post. The only thing I will say, certainly from my point of view, in the UK at the minute, we literally get post once a week, so I'm going to have to try and get mine posted early. So hence, here I'm going to start, and this is going to be one of my cards. So many things you can do with this, and I'm going to start with a piece of card, which, can you oh, it's here. I was going to say I've put it somewhere safe and can't find it. So this, as I say, is a 7x7, just really because I wanted to show you just how much of that beautiful stencil there is. And I'm just going to put this here where I can see it. And I want to start by giving myself an idea of where the centre is. So for me, it's easier to make the aperture and then stamp in it, but that's just me. So my acetate circle masks, and I'm just going to use the outy bit and just pop it sort of here. And I want the light purpley tone, so I've gone for violet chalk. And I'm just going to, by eye, get it in the middle-ish. Again, it's handmade, so ish. Again, blending the lid and these fabulous non-slip mats so it doesn't move. And then, if it's a new ink pad, dab some off on your acetate here. Just, it will help. And then I'm just going to, I start in this area here, because if it's darker, if there's a lot of ink, that's going to give me a bit of shadow. So once I've got some colour there, I'm just going to go all the way around. And it's really just to give me an idea, that central area. But it's important for me to leave the white bit in the middle, that white area. It will just help to highlight when I stamp the beautiful tree. So I'm going to lift that up. And I'm just going to give this a wipe. You know me, it's important that I just give things a wipe and then I just dry them on my little cleaning cloth here. Because when I put it away, I want it to be clean. Nothing worse than picking something up next time and the colour not being right or it contaminating your work. And you can guarantee, well, certainly for me, that always happens if it's a piece I need and in a rush. going to use Christmas Joy. And if you're one of our new friends and followers, and I have to say it's been lovely, especially since the last release, the number of new followers we've got. Tracy's just overwhelmed, and I had a meeting with her the other day, and bless her, she's so thrilled because you love what she's doing, and you know, it is nice. So if you're one of our new friends and followers, we will always try to, when we do our videos, you know, even if it looks difficult, just break it down into stages, and any questions you've got, we're here to help. So acetate, for me, no matter how long you've been crafting, I use the acetate, and I wasn't sure about the stamp, how big, but again, look at the acetate, and I know now if I stamp the bottom bit here, and again, I'm going to say ish because, you know, I am in the lap of the gods with my stamping, I should just get it about in the top there. But the acetate is such a fabulous tool to use. Now we've got various other, you could stamp one of the robins in there. One of our lovely fairies, Eve, I think, possibly will go in there. So there's lots of options. You could batch card make this if you're looking for a Christmas design and just change up the colours for starters. And then even, as I say, the stamp you have in the centre. And I love to do that because it's almost easy batch card making. You're making them all the same but different. And I know that probably sounds daft, but it's craft speak, we're allowed. Right, so we'll try and get this. If I just sort of get it at the bottom-ish, and we'll just go for that. So if you sort of try and get over the top, you get a better view. But obviously I can't get too much on top because I'm recording this and my head would get in the way. Now again, there's a lot of detail in this stamp, so I'm just going to give it a good press and then lift it up. Never lift it up too quickly. And there we go. You can see all that beautiful detail. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to pop my sentiment on. And we've got this lovely Christmas greetings. And there's various ones here. Obviously, wishing you peace, season's greetings. But I've gone for my favourite is Christmas blessings. And again, we all have favourites, don't we? I know we're not supposed to, but we do. And I just want to I love the shape here. So I'm just going to slightly, not too much, but just slightly bend it slightly. You can't go too much of an arc, but we can get a bit of a, let me have a look. Yes. I think that's just a bit too much on that side. There we go. Let me have a... Yes, I'm happy with that. And it won't do the stamp any harm. It'll bounce back to normal when you've stamped it. But I would stamp it sooner rather than later, and then you can take it off the block. So, again, I'm just going to put my head over and we'll pop that there. Straight down, give it a good press and lift up. And as I say, for me, it just follows that shape. But like I say, a good wipe, dry, and then I'll take that off so it's nice and flat and put it back where it came from. Now, as I've said before, VersaFine Clair, it's a slower drying ink. So we'll give that a good blot because we don't want to smudge it when we do our stencil work. And what I'm going to do, when you put the stencil on, obviously you can see through the stencil. Now it's up to you. You can bring your ink to this edge here. But I don't know why, me at the minute, even if I aim to do that, halfway through I'll forget and go over it. I just have one of those minds at the minute that seems to wander. So I've taken my bigger acetate circle and it's roughly the same size. If it's not exactly, don't worry, it's just roughly, which is good enough for me. Now, you could tape this down, but I'm just going to hold it. So what I'm going to do is pop my stencil over the top. And it's good because, look, it actually extends on all sides. So I'm happy with that. Now, colours. What I've decided is I'm going to use my Della Blue. Now I've got an original Della Blue which started to run out, but I keep that because it's very light, and I've bought a new one and I've written on it new, and also on the base the date of when I got it, because new now, if I get another one and write new next year, I won't know which one's new, will I? Well, I thought of this after I'd started the system, but also I was writing on the lid, but often I can mix the lids up, so I decided actually it was the base of the ink I needed to write on. I mean, is it just me? These things take a while to sink in, I'm afraid, you know. So this is a new one and it's quite strong colour, but I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to, right, I can see that's moved a little while I've been talking, those naughty fairies. I'm just going to hold it in the middle, look. And then again, blend in the lid, especially because this is a new ink pad. Really need to blend it in the lid. And I'm going to start in the corner because I want the corners deeper anyway. And along the edges. And then when I've got less ink, I'm just going to gradually come into the middle. And I'm going to do that on all four corners. So again, ink up, start in the corner. And it's really a tickle. You don't need to press really hard when you're going through a stencil. Just hold it lightly, look, and a nice tickle. Now I may get sort of blue. I tried to do my nail varnish to match, so if I get blue ink, it won't show. Right, here we go. Next corner. And then into the middle. And then obviously you've seen the thing, my hand's covering this. So just carefully move it round, look, keeping holding. And then same thing, start in the corner and then move up to where we've got the stencil work from before. And I just like to go over, sort of blend the whole thing. And if you're not sure how it's looking, lift your stencil, oh yeah, like that. Now this obviously I'm going to save and spritz because that's going to give me a lovely background in my journal. Lift this up and there, look at that. I just think that stencil work is beautiful. Like I say, I can see so many ways. I mean, I thought the snowflake stamps, it's going to look fabulous as well. But I thought, I'll use it with this to start off with. But honestly, my head had so many ideas. I couldn't wait for them to arrive. So next thing, I just want to balance the edges up. Now, you could go for blue again if you wish. I thought I'd bring purple in because I've got purple in here. And I'm coming in with Flying Fig. Again, because my violet chalk is a well-used ink pad. If you haven't got Flying Fig, just use your violet chalk again and maybe even bring a little bit of dark denim just to darken the corners. So I'm going to start in the corners and again blend in the lid because it's such a strong colour, this. And once I've got the colour in the corner, as always, I'll just blend up the sides. And for me, it's easier to just turn my work. Again, start in the corner, gently holding. And then when I'm happy, along the edge and this edge. And once you've done this a few times, so batch card making's perfect. You'll be so into this system. I'll be in your head going, start on the corner, gently just tickle, and then tickle down the sides. I often think, you know, I know I've had the odd crafter message me and say, one of you listens to me on the train. And I do think if anybody can overhear me saying, just start in the corners, gently tickle, they'll wonder what you're listening to. But there we go. Adds a bit of spice to life, doesn't it? So when I've gone all the way around, I tend to have a look, and I've mentioned this before, and I just sort of see if the corners are even. Now, I think this top one here is a little bit darker. So I'm just thinking I'll darken up this bottom corner and this bottom corner. But, you know, I've said this before, if I'm not careful, I end up just putting ink on all of them. Little hair there, I just had to blow that out of the way. I didn't want to smudge it because I might smudge the ink, but I like that, so I'm happy with that. Now, again, I'm going to clean this up, but you could, if you've got a spare piece of, when I was creating my original look, I smooshed a tag. So this is one of our large watercolour tags, but that's got enough purple on. So I always have a tag on the go. It's just useful because I'm thinking when I've done that, you know, I think the snowflakes are gonna be perfect on there. Also, check out, we've got some lovely snowflake stickers, and I think the stickers would look fabulous on there if I need a quick tag. So that's my work in progress. And I love having a bit of a twofer, you know, a bit of an extra. While I'm chatting, gel pens, I've just got a selection of colours. So I always think it's nice if you have an extra project on the go. So for me, it's a watercolour tag. Every time I go to Lavinia or I put an order in, I get a pack of the large watercolour tags and the small. And then, as I say, I've always got a couple of tags on the go. And then if I need a quick card, or remember we have Tag Tuesday on our socials, so it's good for that. Colours, I know you're going to ask, these are the Uniball Signo pens, metallic, and I've just used, was that violet or, yes, violet, and this one I reckon is blue, and I've just gone for a selection. I think we've got a green, and on my original I used silver, but I've got the gold out for this one. I thought I might have a change it up a bit. Now, the hardest bit here for me is doing random. I don't know about you, but, you know, it's almost, you have to think to be random. But then if you're thinking, it's not random. So, yes, it messes with my little head. So I'm just going to colour a few. And what you have to think is you can always go back. Yes, I think the gold might just brighten it up better than the silver. I didn't think you could see it very much. But again, you could do them all the same colour. You could do a variety of colours. But also the funny thing is trying to make sure you actually colour them all in. Because I am one of those people that, you know, before now I've gone to write a Christmas card. You know, the bit we all love, the actual sitting and writing them. I love making them, but I've got to be honest, I'm not good at writing cards. I have been writing them before now and actually looked at the front and thought, oh, I've missed a bit. I've missed colouring a bit in. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only person. I'm sure a few of you have done that as well. So I think I've got them all. If any of you are shouting at me, I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you. I'm hoping I've got them all. So I've got the blue and the purple, but then a couple of colours. I like the gold. I think it contrasts a little bit more than the silver. But I don't know, what do you think? I mean, you might want to keep yours all one colour. Now, with my pastel pencils, I just wanted to add a little bit of shade. So I'm just going to come in, first of all, with the grey. Just sort of a nice little... I know we haven't got the moon, so we haven't really got a source of light, but I just think it's nice to add a little bit of shade. It just grounds that lovely tree. So I'm just going to smudge it to fix it, and just coming down into the sentiment, and also it brings that sentiment into the, and for me that just finishes it off a little bit. I'm just going to have a little bit of white highlight at the top, and I often think it's these little, it's only a little something, but it makes all the difference. Now, you could add some water splats to do some faux bleaching, but I thought I'd leave it off with this. So what I am going to do is get my Stickles, and this one's Stardust, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a dot and dab. I don't want a lot of Stickles, a lot of sparkle. And now remember, it can be rude, so I'm just going to put a couple... Did you hear that? It did, it spat at my work. How dare you? And I'm sure it's a plaster in turn dotting and dabbing. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere, but it sort of sums up what I'm going to do here. So I've put a couple of dots on, and then with my finger, I'm just going to dab, just so I get it exactly where I want it. But I just want a nice light amount. I don't want it too thick. And this will just spread it. So I'll use less because I'm very thrifty, and at Christmas I tend to go through a lot of stickles. But also for me, I think just that little bit just gives that bit of sparkle without being too much. And then finally, I'm going to come in with the lovely Posca splat. So this is just a white Posca. We've also got the fabulous mangaka pens. I've used mine so much and I need to get another one. That one's empty. So give them a shake, whichever you're using. And then just come in, and I'm just going to add some snow. Now, the best tip I can give you is obviously I'm adding my snow here because we're together having a catch up. But if I was batch card making, I would almost leave that ink to dry and soak in. And I think for me, the Posca almost shows up whiter once the ink's all dry. But I just wanted to add some Posca. The other thing that's quite nice is just to put a little dot in the middle of each of the snowflakes. So I know we've got our Posca splats, but also I'm just going to add some little, just for that bit of extra detail. And then there's that lovely one just under Christmas blessings there. And so there you have that lovely design. Now, as I say, this would go on an 8x8 card. Now, if you wanted, you could add a star or a bow on top of the lovely Christmas tree. Totally up to you. Maybe one of our little robins sat on the top. Maybe Pippin looking up. I mean, again, this is just the start of that design. I'm sure you're going to take it. And I cannot wait to see all the designs you come up with these fabulous snowflake stencil. I really can't. I'm sure you're like me and you've got so many things buzzing round your head. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Have you started your Christmas cards? Have you? I know some of you have been doing them all year. Yes, I know those of you who are saying to me, we started in January. But there may just be some of you that haven't. I think you could get this on a 6x6 as well. As you know, that's my preferred. I'm thinking it's a sort of design, and I love the way this almost looks quite raised. So have a play. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a good week. And as always, thanks for popping in and for spending time with me. Because at the end of the day, time is precious. And you know what? It is a gift we can give each other to spend time with each other. It's so important. So I'm off now to spend time with Mr. Eric because he's at my feet here and sulking. He wants some attention. So you take care. I'll see you again soon. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.